Welcome back, everyone. Hope you've been enjoying some of the special videos I've been doing lately. With that, hopefully you've been enjoying the Ultra Street Fighter 4 tournament. With that said, I'm doing a special new overpriced list. I've been working on others. This is going to be a mini list, a top 5 rather than top 10. These are 10 overpriced handhelds. First, I have two honorable mentions, and then four mentions of, in my opinion, undervalued handhelds. So, with that said, first, in my opinion, some undervalued handhelds, and also, you will not see any mention of anything most recent gen, so don't expect the 3DS or the Vita to be mentioned because the prices relatively are still pretty high for the most part. But yeah, don't expect that. So with that said, first honorable mention is the Bandai Wonder Swan of undervalue in my opinion. The Wonder Swan on average will set you back between $30 to $70. So needless to say, relatively cheap for the most part. Now, strangely enough, other models are going up in price, but I'll mention that later. But yeah, the Bandai Wonder Swan on average, the original model will set you between $30 to $70. It's not that really that expensive overall, and it's a handheld I actually like, and I wish more people would actually talk about it. And it's surprising, very few gaming YouTube channels here on YouTube actually ever mention the Wonder Swan. Um, Also, in my opinion, of underrated, which I love, is the Sega Game Gear, which you would think that given more and more people become aware of the Game Gear, is strange though that the Game Gear still remains to be one of the criminally underrated handhelds, and prices are relatively good. So, for collecting purposes, I do recommend getting into a Game Gear, and the games are relatively cheap. You can easily find a lot of Game Gear games for like easily under $20, no problem. You can probably find quite a few for like $10 or less. But on average, the Game Gear is going to set you back, depending on condition, $40 to $80. For $80, you can easily get one in pretty good condition. Um, but yeah, in my opinion, it's more than worth that price range. And if you have an AV outlet you can plug in so you don't have to worry about batteries. Also, in my opinion, of surprisingly underrated, given this is a very well-known retro now handheld, I am surprised genuinely by the price overall it's going for, and that is the Game Boy Color from Nintendo. Believe it or not, a Nintendo handheld, in my opinion, is being undervalued, but that's great for collectors. Though some of the games are not undervalued, overvalued in my opinion. But the Game Boy Color, depending on condition for the most part, on average you can find for $50 to $80 for the most part, and I think that's a very reasonable price to actually get on the top 5 list. Um, the average price has to be over $100 to qualify for the top 5. But yeah, in my opinion, underrated. And of the previous generation, in my opinion, the undervalued, for my opinion, is the Nintendo DS Lite. Uh, on average, will set you between $50 to $80, pretty much the same range as the Game Gear, or not Game Gear, but the Game Boy Color. And the reason why I recommend the Lite model, though the screen is smaller, is because it also is backwards compatibility with Game Boy Advance games. So that means you can play your Game Boy Advance library on your DS. I definitely recommend that is the best route to go. I think price wise and everything, do yourself a favor if you don't pick up the Lite model Nintendo DS. Like I said, it's worth it even for the smaller screen because the backwards compatibility thing I think is what really puts it over. But yeah, $58, really good. I personally got mine for like 30 back several years ago. But seriously, okay, two honorable mentions of, in my opinion, overpriced. The first one is the uh, the actual original model Game Boy Advance. Believe it or not, is now, in my opinion, definitely in the overpriced category. It's going for more than the on average than the actual Advance SP, surprisingly, which is kind of interesting. Like the SP on average, you can probably find probably can range anywhere from like 50 to maybe like $90 on average. You're probably looking at for the SP. It's a okay price range. I don't think it's a bad price range at all. But the regular Game Boy Advance model, you're looking at anywhere from $70 to $120 for it, believe it or not. Now, if you're wanting it like complete in box and everything, a Game Boy Advance SP is going to run you $150 to $200 on average, complete in box. So yeah, that's definitely gaining the overpriced category, definitely. The other honorable mention is the PSP. Now, there are obvious reasons why the PSP is more expensive because it was more expensive to begin with and everything taken into account. On average, though, a PSP will just standard everything across board. You're looking at $85 to $130, give or take. Now, if you're wanting in like mid condition stuff, you're probably looking at like the 150 range. Now, if you want to complete in box, you're probably looking at 250 range, give or take. Um, but in my opinion, now keep in mind this is like the average price range for the 3000 model. I didn't look into prices on the 1000 and 2000 model PSPs. I only looked at the price range on the 3000, the last model made, which is by far the best mechanically speaking and everything, less technical issues. Coming at number 5 is, believe it or not, even it was on the regular model was on undervalue in my opinion. Number 5 is the Bandai WonderSwan Color model. Yeah, the color model is actually going up through the roof, which is weird because the regular standard model, like I said, you can get $30 to $70 easy. The color model, however, but that's because there's a lot of variant specials and stuff with the color model. The color model on average is going to set you back $80 to $150, which is a drastic difference in price from the regular model. You're looking on average 2 or 3 times the price for the color model. Keep in mind though, there are a lot of WonderSwan games that will only work specifically on the color model or the third model known as the Crystal, which has a built-in backlight and stuff. But if you're wanting in-box and stuff, a Bandai WonderSwan Color, you're looking at $200 to $300, complete in-box with everything. That includes like even new models. If you are at all curious on the Crystal model, you're looking at probably 200 plus for the Crystal. So just keep that in mind if you're at all curious about the WonderSwan. I recommend getting the regular model, but if you want to get a color, definitely search on the prices. Coming at number 4 is one I've been trying to find a reasonable price for a while, and hard to say if I'll ever get lucky enough. But that is the Neo Geo Pocket Color. Now, there's a regular Neo Geo Pocket. On average, it will probably set you back between $80 to $100 for the standard model, but the Neo Geo Pocket Color model is going to set you back between 120 to 180. So it's definitely getting pricey. The standard price range is about 150 for the color model. Keep in mind, a lot of your fighting games on the Neo Geo Pocket is going to be strictly color. Pretty much all your Fatal, yeah, most of your like Fatal Fury or like Kingdom Fighter games and stuff are going to be exclusively for the color model. So keep that in mind. If you're a big fighting game fanatic and love SNK fighters, keep that in mind if you're all interested in getting the handheld, which is very highly praised and coveted by fighting game fans and SNK fans alike. If you're at all curious for complete in box, like between complete in box and new, the Neo Geo Pocket Color is going to run between $300 up to $500. So keep that in mind. In third place is a Nintendo console. Believe it or not, it's technically a special model of the Game Boy Advance. It's called the Game Boy Micro. It was done around the time when like Apple iPod and stuff was becoming popular, and the original like design was sort of supposed to be like the after the look and stuff of the controller of the original Famicom. On average, Game Boy Micro, if you're at all curious, will on average set you back between 170 to 250. If you're at all curious about complete in box to new, you're looking anywhere from $400 to $600. So yeah, we're really into the very pricey stuff, definitely. Coming at number two, believe it or not, is an Atari device. The Atari Lynx, which I've known about for quite a few years now. I've been curious about getting one, but I'm not willing to pay the price range that they're going for. No thank you, unless I can get lucky at a thrift store some, which I'm not that lucky. Yeah, unless you're a hardcore uh, fan when it comes to Atari, that's about the only way I could even think of justifying its price. The Atari Lynx, on average, not in box or anything, just the handheld itself, depending on condition, will run you anywhere from $200 to $300. Yeah, like I said, very expensive. If you're looking for complete in box to upwards of new, it's gonna run you anywhere from $450 to $700 for the Atari Lynx. Coming in at number one, believe it or not, is a Sega. Now, technically speaking, this is just a basically a handheld version of like a handheld Sega Genesis, more or less, is what it is. But it was very limited manufactured, so it is very pricey, and that even includes importing it from Japan. Doesn't matter, it's pricey regardless. That being at number one most expensive handheld is the Sega Nomad. This is a handheld I've wanted to get, but even looking back several years ago on average, it was going for like 2 to 250 several years ago. So now with the huge influx prices on retro stuff, on average, depending on condition stuff, standard just handheld by itself, a second Nomad will set you back $300 to $400. If you want complete in box, upwards of possibly new, it's going to run you anywhere from $500 to $800. And if you want like complete factory sealed everything, you could be looking even upwards to $1,000. It's ridiculous how much the Sega Nomad is going for. Blows my mind. But with that said, that is 5 overpriced handhelds. Leave a comment below. Tell me if you personally own any of these, or if you've ever thought about, or if you didn't even know about some of these handhelds I mentioned, which I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of people know of the Neo Geo handheld, and a lot of Sega fans know of the Nomad, but you'd be surprised very few people know about the Bandai WonderSwan or the Atari Lynx, and I'm not surprised. Unless you're big into retro gaming or big into the history of gaming in general like myself, I'm not one bit surprised. If you're all curious, in-depth review or anything on any of these handhelds, check out an older YouTube channel called 80s Comics now. It used to be known as Classic Game Room. Check out Mark's or Lord Carnage's reviews on some of this stuff. He goes pretty in depth, and he has quite a bit of knowledge when it comes to Atari and stuff like that. So with that said, I'll see y'all next time. Stay safe and stay tuned for a future top 10 overpriced list. Next is going to be top 10 overpriced Sega Saturn games, so stay tuned for that. And I'll see y'all next time. Same time, same YouTube channel. And hopefully enjoyed the retro wave in the background music.